particularly up front. The balance of the team's wrong. They've got no pace up front. I mean, they started up front with Eriksen, Xerxes and Højlund. Højlund had a really difficult game and it was a worry. That was the big takeaway from the match, is that there's a lad that now has not scored, I think, in 18 games. A lad that, I have to say, I think has got a bit of talent. He's got something about him physically, but he's shot at the moment and he's really struggling. It's sad, and you could see when he was substituted, there was like a relief in the stadium that he needed to be taken off. But Manchester United, to be fair, are the most watched club in English football. They're the highest supported club in English football. They're the one that has the most in the stadium, and they're the one that actually fans like to tune into to watch lose, believe it or not. So
we'll get back to Gary in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And also, as always, if you've got something to say, if something is bubbling up inside of you, please put it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments and he's always interested in what his viewers have to say. Now, in this clip, Gary Neville's going to be talking about one or two things. He's going to be talking about Man United getting knocked out of the FA Cup, and he's also going to be talking about Manchester United's sort of general atmosphere around the club and around the ground, and also hinting upon what's going on with their global fan appeal. But anyway, stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on what Gary has to say and the current situation at Manchester United. Here's Gary.
It was FA Cup weekend, Gary, of course, not without stories. Manchester United going out in the fifth round, losing at home on penalties to Fulham. It's hard to imagine, as each week goes by, that it can get any worse, and then it does. What did you make of Sunday's defeat?
I was there. It was probably one of the only times this season I've been able to go down as a fan. I went down, walked down there. I actually really enjoyed the day, because I actually enjoy going whereby I'm not speaking about football. And I thought United would win. Before the game, I predicted United would win 2-1 and they'd have a scare. But I mean, look, the one thing's for certain at the moment, they've got injuries which are a factor, particularly up front. The balance of the team's wrong. They've got no pace up front. I mean, they started up front with Eriksen, Xerxes and Højlund. Højlund had a really difficult game and it was a worry. That was the big takeaway from the match, is that there's a lad that now has not scored, I think, in 18 games. A lad that, I have to say, I think has got a bit of talent. He's got something about him physically, but he's shot at the moment and he's really struggling. It's sad, and you could see when he was substituted, there was like a relief in the stadium that he needed to be taken off. Garnacho was sub and came on. I thought it was better when he came on. He injected a little bit of sort of pace into the game. But the reality of it is, I'm still watching every team that comes to Old Trafford look like they have more of an idea about what they're doing in possession and out of possession than the team that are wearing the red shirts. And that's the big problem I've got.
Can I just ask you quickly about Garnacho? You mentioned him there. I can't quite work out the Garnacho situation. 1 week he's being dropped from the squad. Next week he's back in the team. Then he's having a strop. Then he's posting stuff on social media. Then the manager's saying, no, it's okay, I don't mind his behaviour like that. But he's not hardly ever starting. Do they want him or not?
I don't know. I mean, he's a firecracker, isn't he? I mean, the kid's got obviously a temper. He's got a bit of something about him in terms of, you can tell that he doesn't just sort of take things lying down. I thought that the game changed at Everton the week before when he came on and Bruno went back one. You then think about throw it forward 7 days. He's on the bench again at Old Trafford. And look, there's something going on there, and there has been for a number of months with him. But the fact of the matter is, you have Eriksen and Xerxes behind Højlund. I mean, what chance has Højlund got? If you haven't got people running past you, if you haven't got people feeding you, you've got Mazraoui and Dalot at full-backs, wing-backs, which again, they're defensive wing-backs. They're not creative. They're not people who can go forward and put decent crosses in or dribble past people. Or even, to be fair, I wouldn't even call them attacking full-backs in the sense of some of the attacking full-backs that we see in the game nowadays. You've got at midfield, you've got Agati and you've got Bruno, so you want to try and get Bruno on the ball. But other than Bruno, I don't know how Manchester United were ever going to actually get a goal or an assist on Sunday. Garnacho is the only one that looks like he's got a bit of threat, like he can beat a man, like he's got a bit of like sort of instinctive sort of spontaneity in his game. And when I saw he wasn't on the team, I think there's an angle sometimes, and this happened in my day, where let's have him to come off the bench. Let's have that injection to come off the bench because we haven't got anything on the bench. But then I look at the fact that you let a game drift for so long. And it was, I thought it was really sad on Sunday being there. Look, I've been there in bad games over this last few seasons, last 10 seasons, in this last few months. But actually, it just felt very different, me not working the game and sat in the crowd and listening to the fans around me. You know, I'm usually on the gantry at Old Trafford, and you're not normally exposed to what fans are saying around you. But when you're in a crowd, you know what it's like, Rebecca. You can hear what people are saying, you can hear what they're thinking. And I thought, do you know something? It's really sad, this. Really sad. We've obviously still got the massive protests and songs against the owners going on to my left in the Stretford end. But then you've got obviously a case of the fans around you are just, they're despondent. They really are sort of down in the dumps. And you know, the saddest thing for me was walking out of Old Trafford. The final penalty gets missed. It is what it is. Penalties can happen. You walk out the stadium, and I walked across the forecourt of Old Trafford in front of the statue of Best Law and Charlton. There's thousands of fans there, and it was really quiet. There wasn't really any anger. There wasn't really any sort of emotion, sort of negatively. And I just thought, they're having the life drained out of them. You know, I used to go to Old Trafford when I was younger as a fan, and I don't walk across the forecourt too much anymore after a game. You're obviously doing a podcast, you're in the studio, and you let things go. But I just thought, God, the fans still turn up, 75,000 every single week. The enthusiasm's there to turn up. The hope is there. And they're leaving that stadium feeling like that. And I really felt it on Sunday walking out with them. I thought, gee, yeah, there really is at this moment in time. It's a real struggle. A real struggle.
That's really, really interesting you say that. You're obviously a Manchester United fan, so you do have a slightly different perspective. But from a non-Manchester United fan like me watching that, I find it staggering that it's full every week. I mean, the quality on offer is so bad, and not only so bad, but so below what virtually everyone in that stadium is used to. Now, I know you're going to have tourist fans, and they do make up some of those fans going to Old Trafford, but there is a huge core of United fans that continue to go week in, week out. And like you said, it's apathy, it's sadness. In a way, they are, they're almost too supportive, Gary. They almost are allowing this to not allowing it to happen, but they're just so loyal, which is... Yeah. Loyal to a fault.
Yeah, I mean, look, the loyalty is incredible. There's a practical element to it, Rebecca, that the 60,000 season tickets, they've paid for their tickets up front, so actually they're in. You know what I mean?
And they have to keep going, don't they, to make sure they can get next year. Yeah.
And they're forced to keep going, and you know, you can't just pass your tickets on as easily anymore as you could do before. Yeah. Then you've got the 3,000 away fans, so you've got 65,000 who actually are there every week because actually they've already paid, or they're away fans. So you've only got 10,000, I mean only, but there's 10,000 tickets available probably for each match. So Manchester United can get rid of that easily. But on Sunday, do you know something? I was actually with my wife, and she said to me on the way out, and she's the first time she's been to a game for a long time, and she used to come and watch the games quite a bit, and she said, you know, and she saw some kids walking across the forecourt. She said, imagine watching that, and that's your first game at Old Trafford. And I thought to myself, it really is bad at the moment. Look, the performance was dreary. There is lots of injuries. The team are going through a terrible time. But the fans are the best part about the club without a shadow of a doubt. The fans keep coming up every single week. They were singing, to be honest with you, I have to say, a lot longer than I would have been singing or would have expected them to be singing for the football that they were watching. And they were then, obviously, to be fair, they were singing against the owners, but they were supporting the players, supporting Bruno. Every time Bruno went over to take a corner, they're up, and Bruno, and the sort of so there's still that element of excitement. And I don't know, look, the last thing you can ever lose as a football fan is hope. And to be fair, you keep going every single week, and I say that myself. You walk across that forecourt on the way to the game, and you dream, and you think something magic's going to happen. But honestly, leaving at the end, it was actually sad to be there.
I just want to pick up on something you were saying there about Emma, your wife's looking at those kids and sort of saying, imagine that was your first game. Just a little story for you. When I first moved to America, we would have groups of school kids come into the studio and watch the show, and we'd meet them, and there would be like, say, 20 kids that would come in, and at least a quarter, if not a half, would be Manchester United fans. 2 weeks ago, we had a soccer team come in of 10-year-olds. There was no Manchester United fans. And I think if I'm a Manchester United supporter, stroke owner, or you, I would be concerned that they are right at the time that the Premier League, certainly in America, is growing, but it is growing all over the world because of social media, because of access to the media. I think I would be concerned that United are massively missing the boat, and the fact that they have the highest average attendance in the Premier League right now is based on the fact that there are people that want those season tickets, and that there are tourist fans, and all of that. But they are starting to lose their grip on what is so valuable about them as a club. If you just take those little anecdotes that I gave you there, does that worry you, Gary?
there used to be a saying, Manchester United, you tune in to either watch them win or watch them lose, because either's good. You know what I mean? It's entertainment, it's drama. Manchester United bring you drama. There's nothing, and you knew that when we were at the club. So Alex Ferguson used to say, if we lost, you've invited the bloody clowns into the circus or something. You know, he used to say things like that, that if we lost the game, the bloody clowns will be running the circus next. You know what I mean? It's that type of sort of thing that all of a sudden you're there to be shot at. And I think my view is that the clubs should never take for granted fan base, and it can't do. And to be fair, you could argue that on Sunday there were banners up about fans being exploited for their loyalty. But Manchester United, to be fair, are the most watched club in English football. They're the highest supported club in English football. They're the one that has the most in the stadium, and they're the one that actually fans like to tune into to watch lose, believe it or not. So there's an element of drama with United, which, to be fair, you can't get away from. That sort of, you know, hated, adored, but never ignored is a sort of flag that sort of exists within the stadium. There is an element of that with United, which I think will exist, but it can't be taken for granted, because, to be honest with you, I think internationally there is no doubt that Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, these sort of PSG, when they've had Mbappe and Messi, they are a threat to Manchester United's fan base globally, but I still think there's going to take a lot of shifting.
Interesting clip, that. Because they touch upon one or two really intriguing points. Okay, now I'm going to start with the Garnacho situation. Yeah, I mean, he's in and out of the team. He does seem to be a bit of a firecracker. But the way I see it, what's happening with Garnacho, he's going through a little transitional period here. And it's almost like an attitude adjustment. Okay, because, you know, prior to, you know, Marcus Rashford leaving, perhaps he was posting cryptic messages online. He might not have been trying hard enough in training and or in matches and all of that kind of stuff. And which is one of the reasons why Marcus Rashford's gone. Now, Marcus Rashford leaving, that in and of itself has sent a message to Garnacho that Man United are not going to put up with any of his nonsense, okay? Now, to be fair to Garnacho, since Marcus Rashford has left, that sort of negative example on Garnacho is not there anymore. So he seems to have booked his ideas up a little bit, and he does seem to be trying a little bit harder in matches, and I'm assuming in training too, because he's getting some minutes and whatnot. But he's still in and out of the team, and it seems to me that Ruben Amorim seems to be ironing out just a couple of bad habits. Like, he's a bit temperamental and whatnot, and he's going straight to the dressing room and not thinking about how that might be perceived and all that good stuff. So if he can get through this attitude adjustment, which he's going through right now, I feel as though perhaps Garnacho will then perhaps have a breakthrough season at some point, and then he'll become the player that we all hope he becomes. But time will tell. This is a key moment, and all the great players go through like a little attitude adjustment, and once they do that, then they become the player that they were destined to become. It reminds me of Gareth Bale. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Garnacho is going to become the next Gareth Bale or anything like that, but I'm using it in terms of Gareth Bale had a similar trajectory. He was a young up-and-comer, and he was floundering a little bit for whatever reason, and then Harry Redknapp watched him, and he noticed that every time he got tackled hard, he would lie on the ground. He'd want the physio to come on to give him a little bit of treatment, and baby him a little bit. But that's what was happening constantly. And then Harry Redknapp, what he did was, when he noticed this, and then whenever Gareth Bale went to the ground and the physio was about to come on, Harry Redknapp stopped the physio, which sent the message to Gareth Bale eventually, come on mate, get up, it's not that bad, crack on with the game, you're always going to get battered and whatnot. And he did, and he adjusted, he got tougher, and then all of a sudden he started playing on the left wing, and he started dominating teams, and he went through that little eye of the needle, so to speak, in terms of his development. And then all of a sudden, it seemed to me, overnight, Gareth Bale went from a frustrating left wing back to becoming to becoming a dominating left winger or inside forward, whatever you want to say. And I feel as though Alejandro Garnacho is going through a similar transition here. In terms of the journey aspect of it, not necessarily exactly the same, but he's going through a transitionary point, and if he gets through that, then maybe, just maybe, next season, hopefully, he just becomes the player that we hope he can be. So that's Garnacho. I mean, what Gary said there's no pace up front at Man United. Yes, there is. There's pace there. I mean, for a start, we've got Garnacho, so when he does come on, he injects a bit of pace in the team. But Xerxes is a lot faster than what people think. You know, there's been a couple of times in the past couple of games where he's got the ball and he's just went like that. I mean, he's a bit lanky and gangly, so to speak, but he covers ground. He really does, and he's very skillful as well. And Rasmus Højlund's, he's a big racehorse himself. So there's pace there. Man United could beat teams on the counter if they just organised the attack in the right way. You know, and hopefully when Dorgu gets back, he's fast as well. I don't buy Dalot being a defensive wing back. I don't think he is. I think he's an attacking wing back. He's a lot better going forward than he is defending. Diogo Dalot. So there's a couple of things there. I didn't really agree with Gary on that front. It's just a couple of nuances that Manchester United need to work on when it comes to attacking, because we've got to make the best of what we've got now, because we can't go into the transfer market at this point. So Rasmus Højlund lacks service. So if Ruben Amorim says to Xerxes, whenever you get the ball, look for Rasmus. When he should say to Dalot, whenever you get the ball, look for Rasmus, Bruno, Eriksen, whoever's playing, the creative players that can pass the ball, get the ball, look up, look for Rasmus. And Rasmus Højlund needs to stay up front. Too many times I've seen him defending and helping out with corner kicks and stuff like that. That is not his job. His job is to score goals. And you can't score goals if you're in your own penalty area. You need to be as close to their goal as possible without being offside. So if he does that, if he sticks to the middle of the pitch, waits for the opportunity, waits for the through ball, waits for the long ball over the top, and then run onto it, then he will score goals. But I don't know if anyone's saying this to him, because he is good enough to score goals. We've seen him score goals, but he's lacking confidence and he's lacking service. Because this team just needs a goal scorer. If we can get a consistent goal scorer in this team, that team shoots up the table, which brings me on to my next point. There is a danger of Manchester United missing the boat here. I do think that. I do agree with that notion, because FIFA have got the inaugural FIFA Club World Cup that's been expanded, that they're going to be playing in the summer, which is 4 weeks of club football that's going to determine the world champions. And it's a fantastic concept, and that will become bigger than the Champions League eventually, because everyone wants to be called world champions. And what's going to happen is, with that tournament, because what did they say? There's $1 billion prize money or something like that. That's mental. So, I mean, if a team like River Plate win that, or a team like Santos or one of the Saudi clubs win that, they're going to be able to attract, better players. The respective leagues are going to start generating more money. And because of that, the teams in the league are going to be earning more money, and then they're going to be able to afford better players. They're going to be able to retain their youth players and whatnot. And then eventually it's going to be football is going to truly become a global. Well, that's a silly thing, because it is a global force. But the point I'm making is the best football is not going to be as concentrated in Europe eventually, because of this FIFA Club World Cup. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but within the next generation or two, I think that's where football is going to go. Because, Sir Matt Busby said the future was on the continent. That's right, and he was right. And the European Cup garnered more more notoriety, more money, and it became a continental sport. Well, the next big leap forward for football is, a world club competition, and that's what's happening now. Not to say that winning the Champions League is not going to be important. Of course it is, because you need to be able to qualify for the club tournament, the World Club Cup tournament, But anyway, I mean, Manchester United are going to have to start performing better in the league and getting into the Champions League on a regular basis and performing well in there, because if they don't qualify for the next Club World Tournament, that's more money and more prestige that they're not going to have. And then all the kids growing up, they're going to be growing up in the era of Man City, in the era of Real Madrid, in the era of all the other teams, and not as many fans are going to support Manchester United. So they're at a bit of a crossroads now. I just hope that perhaps it goes back to what I've already been saying, in the sense that the night is darkest right before the dawn, and hopefully Ineos have stopped the rot as best they can, and they're starting to buy players a bit more astutely, and the team's going to get better, and we're going to be on the ascent, because the future is that FIFA Club World Cup. It really is. It really is. Now, I'm not too fussed about United getting knocked out of the FA Cup. I mean, we won it last year, and it's not really going to progress Man United forward. What's going to propel Manchester United forward is performing well in the league and winning the Europa League. Now, I'm not saying Man United are going to win the Europa League. If Rasmus Højlund starts scoring, then maybe they will. Or if someone starts scoring regularly, maybe they will. They've got enough talent to be able to win it, but whether or not they are able to is a different kettle of fish. But yeah, the fact that we're out of the FA Cup and we're out of the other competitions is I think is a blessing in disguise for Manchester United. So we can concentrate fully on climbing the table in the Premier League and use those games to sort of get more and more used to this formation that Ruben Amorim is putting in place and playing for the Europa League. So hopefully, for some reason, we play well in that and we kick on and we win that competition. That's my hope. But anyway, what do you guys think? Have Manchester United got a chance of winning the Europa League? And also, do you think Manchester United are in danger of missing the boat with the onset of the FIFA Club World Cup? Thoughts in the comments, as always, and the Big D will see you in the next one.